Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jaylee. This is Jaylee's Corner, and we are proud to have with us today someone who I have been rooting for a whole season on a brand new show, and that is none other than Miss Winter Harris. Okay, hi, Winter. How are you?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Looking
Thank
forward
you,
to this.
thank you. So you were on a new show that was on OWN,
Yes,
and you were a friend of the show.
yes.
However, we noticed the full season was strictly about winter, whether it was a conversation about winter or even if you weren't there, it was still mostly conversations about you. The
Go
first
figure.
thing I want, which is very, very weird. The first thing I want to ask is who were you before you got on the show? Because
Yeah,
most of us did not know who you were. So who was Winter
yeah.
before Love and Marriage DC?
So before Love and Marriage DC, of course, I was a mom. I have four children and in doctoral school. But I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I did ministry work. And 3 years prior, which this comes into the show, I was a relationship coach, but I had discontinued that in 2019 to go into pursuing ministry endeavors and really just launching my mentorship community for women. I do a lot of my nonprofit work. So I literally try to stay as plugged in as I can while being a mompreneur as well, which is a lot of work trying to balance four kids and also run a business. So yeah, I mean, that's really been my life really for, and I balance corporate too, because as an entrepreneur, sometimes you got to do both. So I've
Yes.
done both too. So yeah, I've been in this field really since 2015. Prior to that, I was a homemaker, so I was a stay-at-home mom. But yeah, that's really winter in a nutshell before the show came and was a whirlwind in my life.
So you kind of got introduced through Monique. How did you meet Monique, and like when did you really meet her and y'all became friends?
So we met through the NFL sisterhood. Chris is a former NFL player, and my ex-husband was on the same team as Chris, which formerly known as the Washington Redskins. So that's how we connected. And we do have a very tight-knit community. I mean, it's very few people that can identify with your experience as an NFL wife. So you need other NFL wives around you really to make it through, because a lot of us are really away from home. We're away from family. So we truly lean on each other to make it work when we're placed in these new cities with these teams. So that's how I met her. When I met her, she was a girlfriend. She wasn't a wife yet. And then they got married. I want to say the year after or the year of that my ex-husband had retired from the NFL. So
Okay.
that's how I know her.
Okay. So how were you initially introduced to even coming on the show? Like who brought you the idea? How were you
Yeah.
even approached to come on the show?
So Monique actually approached Kevin and I. She knew her and Chris knew him from a previous life, and then they knew me from a previous life. So it just so happened that all these years later, they saw that we were together and said that, listen, if this show comes to fruition, would you guys be interested in being one of the couples? And so we were initially doing the casting. We did 2 rounds, and Carlos told me, it's pretty strong contender as one of the main couples. We might have been the fourth had things not panned out the way they did. But because of the way things panned out for us, I actually contacted Monique and let her know last July that we weren't moving forward in the casting because there were some things personally going on that I needed to sort out. And she understood. We didn't really catch up until like a month or two after that for me to really explain what was going on. And really, that's it. That was the end of it. So I didn't hear anything else about the show. I saw that it got picked up like December-ish. And so I reached out to her and congratulated her and told her I was happy for them and I'd be watching. It just so happened in January, they had someone not able to make it to do the live podcast. And so she reached out to me because she knows that I'm a public speaker and I've been doing it for a while. So she said, if you're interested, I'd love for, you to do it. And I was like, cool. She said, are you okay with being filmed? I said, yeah, no problem. So that's how I ended up on the show. It was not, it was not supposed to be.
Because they make it seem like, oh my God, Winter is so much into the show. She wants to be on the show. So even knowing that you were going to be on it as couple left because of separation. And
Yeah.
why do you think Monique even reached out to you of all people? Do you think she assumed the drama with your marriage could bring drama to the show?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we had text exchanges that said, "Hey, you're bringing the drama to the show." Now, my naiveness with reality TV is that I didn't anticipate the drama with the other castmates.
For the
You know what I mean?
castmates.
Like, I'm okay with being vulnerable and showing that, love is beautiful, but it can also be messy, and this is my reality. And I've been open and transparent over my time on social media. So this was not far fetched for me. It's not something that I'm above doing. Monique knows this. I was on her podcast talking about the demise of my marriage with my ex, former NFL husband. So she knows I'm open. She knows I'm vulnerable. So she knew I would have no problem sharing about, Kevin and I's demise. Like, I was okay with that. And for me, it was more of because I am faith based and I know so many people, you're talking about hundreds of people, because we got married during COVID, who supported us, watched us get married online. People were willing to pay to see us. Like, it was crazy. Because we were an abstinent couple, we were very vocal about our faith and waiting before marriage. And I knew I needed to be honest, because it's easy to talk about when things are, talk about it when things are good. But
Good
what about when
things.
things are bad? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet. This is a good opportunity. And hopefully people learn from what I've went through and the mistakes that I made, That was my mindset going in. All this extra stuff.
Came out of left field. Because even the first dinner scene that we saw with you guys, it was, for me, it was weird seeing how it's seen from episode 1
Yeah.
that Ashley did not like you. And I know as a viewer, I was like, was there some kind of other situation we didn't know about? Because it just came kind of out of left field. Were you surprised at how
Mm-hmm.
judgmental Athy and mainly Reina were, based on your openness on your, well, the first divorce and then the issues with Kevin? Because it
Yeah.
came off as more judgmental than anything else from the first episode.
Absolutely. And I feel like I've dealt with that all season. Like, there's been criticism and judgment, but not necessarily compassion. Like, I've
Mm.
never had a vulnerable scene with any of them. Not one. Tasha was the only one that seemed to ask a question like, "How are you doing?" And then you see the one scene with Monique and I, but the other ladies, no. And I think that overall for me, what was off putting. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
dang, like, you don't have to know me and you don't have to like me, but from human to human, there's nothing that's transpired between us. You don't know me from a can of paint for you to feel this way and have this type of energy that you're projecting onto another person for what? Like, I just could never really understand why that approach was taken. And yeah, it was just really strange because I hadn't met, especially Ashley, never laid eyes on her a day in my life prior to that podcast.
That was so strange. That was,
Yeah.
because the fans. I think that's the one thing the fans caught on to from episode 1. Now, we did speak about your ex-husband, the cheating, and all of those things went on. How did he handle that becoming public information from the season? Did he know that will be a part of, or did he think it was going to be more about you and Kevin?
So you have to know they cut out a lot to focus on that one little piece of information. There was a
Okay.
whole lot of other information that was shared versus that. And I never lead with that information to take a dig at him. He knows I'm
Mhm.
very open about speaking about it. I have been for 6 years now. You know what I mean? Like, once I went through my healing process, because I don't ever want to speak about it from a place of bitterness, because I'm not bitter about it.
Right.
It's what I walked through. It's what I went through. It's my story. I own it. And now it's about really sharing what happened, but we're on the other side of it. We're in a good place. There's a lot of forgiveness and healing. So no, I believe it or not, I have not got 1 ounce of flack. Not none. From any,
It,
because people know me. And I think, it may be shocking to my castmates because I believe they wholeheartedly had a goal to assassinate my character and
yes.
assassinate my being. And it's like, do you understand that thank God I know who I am and my reputation precedes me. So I do not worry because people know Winter and the people who have experienced me can speak to me. Clearly, even though Monique has experienced me, she couldn't speak to me by, basically invalidating her own credibility to speak to who I am by saying we're not really friends. So at that point, anything you say after that
It doesn't
cannot
even
be
matter.
used. So I'm not bothered by people having an opinion. Everyone's going to have an opinion, but people who know me, and I have a lot of roots in the ground when it comes to my relationships and reputation with people. So I don't even take my castmates' opinions all that seriously. I mean, you got to value people their opinion of you to really hold their opinions valuable. And I
This
just
is very
don't.
true.
So yeah, I haven't had any issues. He's not on social media at all anyway, so they could go look him up and they just wouldn't find him.
That's good. Now, I know the one question most people kept asking me to ask you was, what did you learn about yourself from the first marriage that made you grow to get to a place to even be so open with, what happened in the first? Because some folks don't want to explain their pitfalls and explain what may have broken them at one point. So what made you stronger now to be able to have that open conversation? And what would you maybe advise someone who went through what you went through then and they want to be stronger now?
You have to do the work. I think people love to avoid the work, but I did the work. I spent many years on the therapist's couch, digging through, working through, pressing through, really working on me and figuring out who I was as a woman, as a person, as an individual. Because I think so often as women, we bury ourselves in the title of wife, and we bury ourselves in the title of mom, right? But I always like to tell women, you were a person before you were somebody's wife and somebody's mom. So the goal is to identify that person, grow that person, heal that person. And I think we honestly better serve in those roles as wife and mom. So that's been my own work. It's been my own journey. And I own it. I think that's the one thing that may have frustrated my cast, is that there has been nothing that they have thrown at me this season that has rattled me.
And they tried to rattle you a lot. Now, we do see on the show, both you and Kevin speaking about how when you guys did separate, how you went back to his parents' house. At what point did you just feel like this isn't who I thought he was to make you move forward with not being in the marriage anymore?
Yeah, I try to keep it a $150 with everybody I interview with. I think what may be shocking to people is that I realized fairly quickly after we said I do.
That's a good thing, though.
Because it's like fairly quickly.
I know you spoke before about how you guys got together, because when COVID happened, none of us knew what to do, how to be. It was new for everyone. So dating in COVID, I can get how it can be difficult because you can't really be together in person.
Yes.
So once you guys were together, it kind of makes sense. That's when you start to realize this may not be what I thought it was.
It was worse than I thought it was. It was really, really bad. So bad. And I, like I shared before, I have a receipt. I actually messaged my mom and told her that I felt like I needed to annul it. And if I didn't do it, I would regret it later. And sure enough, she encouraged me to stick it out. And I don't fault her for that, But single-handedly, I wish I had listened to my gut. Like, I've had 2 points. I had a point when we were engaged, I should have listened to my gut. And then that point of annulling, I should have listened to my gut. Because it was just I call it like the point at which I realized the mask had fallen off. And it's like, oh, no.
The disguise fell off.
Yeah, like, no, you ain't nowhere near. I just think, too, with him being so much older, one of the things that impressed me is that he appeared much younger. And so
he didn't seem older. He didn't look at first. I'm like, oh, he doesn't even look his age when he first came on the screen. So I can get how, you may not even get it.
And it was much better when we met. It was because even when I didn't recognize him. He has aged tremendously in the time that I've seen him. So when I met him, he looked fresh-faced. His skin was lighter and brighter. And, like he just seemed to have more vitality. And yeah,
that lion did the toll. The lion made him. It took a toll on his body.
It was a mess, and the mask continued to come off over and over again. By the time everything combusted, I knew without a shadow of a doubt it was time to cut it loose. Like it's at some point you got to deal with yourself too, right? Because coming from the faith-based community, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of worrying about what people are going to think. What are people going to say? Oh my God, I have this platform that is growing. What do you say? Honestly, most people would have sat in it. They would have just rolled that L out. They wouldn't have divorced. They wouldn't have, but I couldn't. I knew that I needed to make this decision very swiftly. He complains that I didn't give him a chance to make it right, but the writing was on the wall. There was nothing to make right when you realize so much was deceptive, because at that point, I can't trust you ever again. So we don't even have a foundation of trust. So we're not rebuilding anything. You deceived your way into this. So I vamped quickly, and it was no hope for reconciliation when I made that decision. Because at the end of the day, I have 4 kids to protect, and you don't get to come and disrupt our peace when I have created an environment of peace. And now that, to no fault of our own, we're forced into this situation that is very, it's dangerous because of some of the things that were going on. So no, I was good, and I would rather take the criticism of people, and I have this season. People have criticized why I married him in the first place. I'm good. I sleep good at night. I've made peace with it. Have your opinions. I'll put it in the toolbox of lessons and keep it moving. But I would have not reconciled it all, and I'm grateful for the decision that I made. And I'm glad I made it when I did, because it could be much worse down the road.
Because we've seen things go the wrong way with other people, so it's a good thing to kind of get rid of that. Were you surprised at all how it almost seemed like the cast, the women mainly, were judging you based on you leaving and not accepting the fact that you realized something was wrong, you left, and that's what it was. So were you surprised that Kevin was invited, or were you blindsided that he was invited to the lake house trip? Did you think that would happen based on you feeling like it's over, I do want a divorce? He knew that too, but so were you surprised that even production allowed that to happen?
I'm not surprised. This is a reality TV show. My only, and I had avoided it, honestly, the whole season, because I'm sure they would have loved for me to film with him sooner. What the audience may not know is that there were safety concerns due to some behavior that my family and I were witnessing, and I refused to film with him. So this is why you see him film separately. I only agreed to that final filming, honestly, because there is security in the room. There is legit armed security in that room, and I would not have done it any other way. And you even see how he continues to try to position himself to come near me,
get closer
or
to
towards
you.
me. And I'm like, what part of a person has said, I don't want you near me? Like, it's one thing to be in the room because I feel like at least there's people here, but you are bypassing every boundary that a person has set. So that type of, if people are looking beyond the drama of the show, like you're watching a person's behavior, I'm clearly stating I don't want to be near him. Yet you see him, more than one
Walking
occasion.
over, coming over, getting closer. Yeah, it was a weird scene to watch because you looked uncomfortable, and it was weird because it felt like, as a viewer, the other cast realized you did not want to be around him. However, because they didn't really like you, no one cared that you were uncomfortable, and they just kind of let it play out. And I felt like that's why the two or three couples left out, and only Monique and Chris were left in there since they were your friends. But you can see that it was an uncomfortable situation because you kept moving away from him, like consistently. So that part was even weird to see as a viewer, because as a woman, you want to feel like you can feel protected around other women and other men who should love their women. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how can y'all see she's uncomfortable, but no one kind of said, Kevin, just stay over there and and have the conflict, separately.
Yeah. I was very uncomfortable, and more so I'm like, I legit don't want to be around them. Y'all don't get it. Like, it's cool. They're not privy to a lot of information as well, but to the point of where I'm actually trying to pursue restraining orders and protective orders and things like that. Like, I don't play about stuff like that. So it's fine. I'll do the scene, but don't get it twisted. I don't want to be anywhere near them. So I think I say that in scene. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near them. Like, what are we doing here? And why are you moving towards me? But I wholeheartedly believe either he believed it or someone in production told him this was an opportunity for him to try to win me back.
It seemed really like he thought it was a intervention. Get them back together.
Yes, I really felt like somebody told him this was a time for him to try to shoot. And he's so naive, and that's probably the older part of him, like not kind of knowing how reality TV. That he really believed that. And that when I look, back at that scene, I'm like, somebody must have told him he would have had time to maybe try to get us back together. But it's like, dude, like at that point we had been separated for 9 months, living apart for 9 months.
And he just didn't get it.
So I'm
he
like,
just wanted you back.
I'm good.
What did you learn from dating, married, and divorcing Kevin? What is the one lesson that you learned in that whole experience that's now done?
I will be honest, and you're actually getting a exclusive, Jaylee. It's the first
Oh,
time
okay.
I have ever shared this publicly. But I think people will understand it when I share it. So there's a couple of things. When you go through what I went through as a woman of faith, a person who was very devout, anyone who's followed me on my pages, Facebook, IG, YouTube, I've been very vocal about how I believe, why I move a certain way I move. And to find a man you believe that aligned with that belief system to turn out to be, in your opinion, a wolf in sheep's clothing, where no one, and I mean no one, interjected and said, Winter, you might want to wait. Winter, he seems like no one.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone felt like he was the man of God that
He
God
fooled
had sent for
everyone.
me.
Yeah.
Right. You do not go through that type of experience and have it not change you. And so it has literally made me question everything down to abstinence. I'm going to be honest. That has been a huge platform of mine. But
Mm-hmm.
it literally has made me look at everything down to abstinence like, hmm, because we are taught that if we somehow do it the right way, we are guaranteed right results.
And the wrong results can happen, and even if you do things different ways. So, but you have to do what makes you comfortable. And sometimes, if you try to wait and it still doesn't work, you're like, maybe I should just try things differently. So that's a good thing to learn, though, because you don't want to
Yes.
question yourself for life based
Yeah.
on that one particular mistake.
Absolutely. But that's, being completely transparent. That's something that I've had to wrestle and tussle with this last year of this whole breakup and separation and the divorce. Like I literally have had to process my feelings about it, talk to God about it. Like the rushing thing is another thing I will never freaking do again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I legitimately want to marry my best friend. And he was not that for me. I had to own the realization that I settled, and I settled big time. I just settled, and I have to, I have to own that that was the reality, and I had to work through the reasons behind that because I really had no reason to. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't in need of money. Like I was,
You were
like
fine.
it just, and there's a part of me that feels like I was so spiritually minded. I was no earthly good, and
Oh,
so
okay. And that's
learning
how
to
he
have
got
more
you.
balance. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I dropped my hold on. I lost my volume. But yeah, that's how he got me. So I'm learning more balance in that. And I feel like from that standpoint, there's a lot that I can take back and teach the community of women who have followed my journey all this time. Like sometimes we are so heavily minded, we are literally no earthly good, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not good when you're talking about making lifelong decisions like marriage. You got to employ all of your common sense as well as your discernment to make sure you're making the right decision. Otherwise, people like this will slip through time and time again. And so that was really my reasoning for coming on the show and being open about my journey because I know I'm not the only one, especially not this church girl. I meet a lot of church girls like me. But yeah, so that's been real. I've never shared that I'm really questioning everything. Only thing I don't question is my relationship with the Lord, but it makes me question everything because it's frustrating to go through that and then have that outcome. So yeah,
That's a good thing though, because you're at the end of the day, no one can judge us except God. So it's not as if whatever you do, it's okay. Talk to God and He's gonna be fine. He'll let us know what's gonna happen. Now we did see your oldest son and daughter on the show. How have they handled the outcome of what happened? Because they're technically also on the show too. So how are they
yes.
doing with the divorce and then mom kind of being attacked online and like how are they handling all of that?
So my kids are amazing. My oldest daughter is the arguing child on Twitter.
Because she's like 20, right? Is she 21?
She'll be 21 in October.
Oh, well, she's legal, so she's an adult. She's like, I'm going to get in these 23s, mama.
She's been getting in people tail on Twitter because she's just like, who are these nasty acting people? Like but to be fair, I haven't had a tremendous amount of nastiness. If I'm keeping it a 100, I've had a lot of support, believe it or not. Like you do get those people that maybe like team this person or team that person, but overall, I've had a tremendous amount of support. So it hasn't been overwhelming, but she does get with it on Twitter. And I've told her not to because I just don't want her involved. But they've handled it well. The divorce thing, they were happy for me. They were happy when he left. They could have thrown a party. It was very strange for all of us living with him. So I'm grateful that my kids give me grace, but yeah, they haven't thought twice, even down to my little child. My little was upset that he mentioned that he was worried about I think he said in the scene he was worried about my youngest child. And she was like, I don't like him like
that. Because he tried to use the baby to get some sympathy and it didn't work.
He did. He did it. He tried to use that to get me to take him back. Like his child was so devastated about the breakup that I'm like, sir, bye. So my youngest daughter, she's 11. She was completely upset about him mentioning that. Like, no, that's not true. So my kids have been good, but their dad is present. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like they were vying for absentee dad.
Right.
Yeah, no, their dad is great. Like we are great co-parents. They are well loved and well supported. Both grandparents sides still intact. Aunts and we have a lot of love in our family. So no, they're good. My kids are good. They're a hoot. I do hope they get shown more if there's a season 2 and if I'm back. But
they have to bring you back.
I really, really hope. I don't know.
Have to bring you back. We're gonna get into that because I have a whole feeling about stuff and things because it's crazy. Because even before filming, you did not know Athy or Reina. When you watch the first 2 episodes, because we know that you guys don't see the confessionals when you're filming, so you had no idea, probably watching episodes 1 and 2 what was said then. Right. Did you question when you going? Did you question the reason Ashley it was mostly Ashley who just seemed to not like you from episode 1? Since you did not know her before, was that weird for you even seeing it play out on TV?
Absolutely, because I'm like, oh, I thought we were good there. I think it's always interesting to see scenes played back and you notice certain things that have been said that you didn't know have been said. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be fair. I really feel that way regarding probably how they felt about watching my confessionals. This girl was popping off in these confessionals. So I get it, but yeah, it was different to kind of see some of the responses and the reactions, and I'm like, man, you can't possibly be that bored.
Yes.
In my experience, when you're hearing someone share or not, it's it's just a certain way that you handle those situations. So I think for me, it was just more so I was a little taken back by it, but it really set the, what do you call it? Set the groundwork or laid the groundwork for kind of how things played out for the remainder of the season. Once I watched you watch the rest of the season, it's oh, okay, well, we wasn't good from episode 1.
And you just didn't know it. You're I was the last to know. I was the last to know that it was an actual issue before I knew it was an issue. But that was before the dinner scene and all of that stuff. So that was how did that even happen?
Yeah,
I was
last to know a lot. Go ahead.
Seeing Reina ask you even, because we saw 2 separate conversations with Reina mentioning you having mental health issues. We've seen it one time with her and Athy at the doctor's office where she wanted a BBL with no body fat, but which is also crazy. But we also see her when she talked to you about it. She makes it seem as if she was worried about you. So seeing the 2 different scenes play out where she was one being shady, but then try to act like it was concerned. Do you feel like she was either projecting what could be going on with her onto you, or do you feel like at some point she cared and she just got misconstrued with her delivery?
I have to watch my mouth. Hold on, because sometimes things come out very shady, and I don't mean to be, but I just don't feel like some people are in the best positions to diagnose anyone.
I
And
agree.
I actually came for her butt about that on Twitter because we are in a very mental health conscious society, and we don't throw out accusations like that
Right.
lightly. And I do feel like it was an attempt to be shady unnecessarily. And the crazy part is that I believe out of the cast, I was the only one who was actively in therapy during the season. So it's like, if there is an issue, I'm actually getting support, which I feel is necessary. And I'm a mental health advocate. So I believe in therapy, and I believe in getting the support that you need. And you shouldn't have to be an island by yourself going through difficult things. That said, let's not get it confused that just because you are going through a difficulty in your life that you somehow have something wrong up there.
Right.
And this is the issue I have with the African American community, and why it is so difficult for so many of us to get the support and help that we need for fear of being called crazy.
And being judged. And being judged on something that
exactly
nothing to do with anything. It was weird because I felt like her talking to Ashley, who is diagnosed with depression. I would have assumed that someone who was already diagnosed with something within the mental health realm would say, well, hey, let's not diagnose her with that because of a life experience. It wasn't as if, you had went through something that could have really mentally changed you in that way. And you seem so strong-willed. I'm like, that was even the right thing, in my opinion, to say. But it all stemmed from the nicknames, the fun size and the red light special, which I laughed at as soon as I heard it. And I felt like everyone else laughed too. Like, no one didn't laugh. Not Ashley, not Reina, not Monique. When seeing you talk to Monique, I felt like, because we, as the viewers, thought you and Monique were good friends. Mm-hmm. Even though, well, hold on one second. But watching it back, do you feel like, trying how to work, do you feel like Monique tossed you up under the bus in real time, or did she do it more after she figured out the girls did not like you? Because we see the conversation, which to me just seemed like two girlfriends talking, one venting, one listening. Did you think that would cause the whole season to just spin in your way?
No, not at all. And it's I know the comments have been made. We're not really friends. We're not really that close, but we're on a reality TV show together.
Right.
And out of all these ladies, you are the closest thing I have to a quote unquote friend. Like, don't play with me. We're mixing and chopping and screwing words. Like, this is like a chopped and screwed album. It's ridiculous. Like, make it make sense. Who else would I have vented to about this group?
Yes.
That is my frustration with it. And so I don't feel bad about venting to her like I did, because it would have made sense that I would have. It would have been Tasha, I didn't like that it was carried back without my input, seeing as how there were things that she mixed up and didn't understand. And, I told her how I wanted to tell her because I'm venting to her. And I feel like some things I should have been allowed to vent about. Right. But by the same token, if you're mixed up or confused, just like I told her in scene, like, I don't need you to defend me. I'm a big girl. I can defend myself. If I feel like there's an issue, I'll handle it like I handle it. It wasn't like she was present at that Ocean Prime when I addressed Ashley.
Because you had to tell her what happened. And it was weird that she made it seem as if, well, that's the one time me and her had a one-on-one conversation. But we then see her have multiple conversations with the other ladies about your one conversation. And people felt like Monique consistently gave Reina and Ashley grace and understanding based on how they felt about you. Do you feel like she ever had your back at all this season? Even from,
No. And that was my frustration. I will give her wholehearted credit that she had my whole back and backside when it came to Kevin.
She did. She did. That's the one thing she did.
My front, my side, my edges, everything. Like, she held that joint down. But that was not translated when it came to the ladies. And that is the one I feel like unfortunate thing, because I do feel like, she could have been a good mediator if there
Mm-hmm.
was more fairness. I always felt like she was expecting me to always,
Fix something.
fix it, apologize, be accountable, but then it wasn't extended to the other ladies. And I'm just like, you're not being fair here. There's no way you can say you're being fair. Um, and again, in a lot of ways, I think we almost Men in Black the whole vegan dinner where I came at first, like hard. And it's like, are we forgetting that ever happened? That was the reason for me venting the way I did to her in the first place. These are your friends. Why are they acting like this?
Because it was quick making the comment, the joke about you being a coach of relationships because you were divorced, and then comparing that to a hairstylist who hair isn't done. I was, and it was weird because Quick always was kind of just inserting himself in what the ladies had going on. It would have been better if he would have just stayed out of it, because I felt like if you and the ladies have issues, it's like that's kind of even playing field. But I felt like you never had anyone else there to be your side person to also talk about whatever. They all had not only their husbands but each other, and it always just seemed like you were the punching bag till we can crack
Yeah.
jokes on what she has going on. So fans have been asking that they feel like them. They feel not me. They feel like have not been harder on Monique and how we saw her not defend you, not be a good friend. But they feel like you were not harder on, but you have spoken more about Reina and or Athy and not really Monique. Do you feel like you
They
have
right.
not? Why do you think that is though? Is it that you
Because
don't?
I know, because I honestly think I was trying to be a friend. Like, I think I honestly was trying to be a friend. It really wasn't. Now, that tune has changed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That changed for me when she tweeted in support of Quick's actions at the reunion.
I saw that. But because it was weird because when the first episode aired, we saw that I think you and Ashley kind of exchanged tweets then. And we know every week the cast, comments and posts. But I do recall when the reunion happened, and I think her tweet said something in the aspect of, he wasn't talking to you. But I think even as the viewer, we felt like it didn't matter that he was talking to her. Or even
Yeah.
you were talking to her about someone else. You may not be calling her a B, but you were talking to her about someone else in the aggressive ways. I do think fans also did not like on Twitter when she would kind of side with the other ladies and
Yes.
never even saw your point. So that was why I
No.
think people felt like you never kind of called her out enough for her actions either.
The fans win on that. Fans won, Winter 0. Are we keeping score? Fans won, absolutely. And I think there was a lot of loyalty there that wasn't returned back to me. Even down to them having a pact prior to coming on this show about not digging into each other's past or past mistakes, or even if the past was 2 weeks ago, like, it ain't gonna be talked about, and that's our agreement. Well, you already kind of are throwing me under the bus because I didn't know about that pact. I actually don't learn about that pact until after episode 5.
Because you brought up how when Chris mentioned in the reunion that we talked about the pack, and you said, but that was after the scene at the selfie location or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like, that was later. So if you guys do that before and she did not know, you can't make it. I felt like Chris said it in a way that the fans would think, oh, so Winter knew before time to not do something and she did it anyway. And I was like, well, if she didn't know in the beginning, you can't make it seem as if she did it anyway. And it was a weird thing of how Monique, one, consistently said how you guys were not friends. And that was more on social media than anything else. Did she ever tell you anything Reina or Athy said about you during the season?
Nope.
Blind. So you were blind the whole season.
Nope. I think that's something that fans should know. I've played myself. The whole season. I've come into situations blind, just being myself. I've come into situations just really responding to whatever I've been put in. You know what I mean? Like,
it was all responsive.
It was all responsive. And, you kind of have to deal with the cards that you're dealt. But by the same token, no, there was no heads up. There was no, hey, do you know? Like, no. And I even feel that way about the whole pack thing. You only contacted me because you got two individuals over here popping off, going off on production about the fact that I've mentioned something that they don't want addressed. It might have been a wise idea to tell me that before we started filming, and then also offer me the same protection, because it does not make sense for me to take the gloves off concerning you, but you're going to keep yours on. In fact, double them up if you can at some point. And I'm just supposed to be like, oh yeah, it's good. Like, who's doing that? I'm 40, almost 41 years old. I don't know any grown woman who has any level of self-respect that would allow for someone to speak to them or treat them the way that they have attempted to treat me. Now, I think the shocking thing to Monique has been that I'm feisty and that I do have clap back and comeback. Now, that was probably highly underestimated.
She kept saying that.
Oh, she did?
Because she kept saying, I can't believe this. And I was like, but if you brought her on the show for a reason, how did you not know? So on her, when she would go live after the episode, she would say to this, like, I did not know that she was, and I'm like, but you acted like it was. So I think my question is, do you feel like, we did not see during the season on the show, Monique say that you guys weren't really friends. We saw that on her social media and after stuff had aired. Did you feel like she felt that way during filming, or once she saw how the fans were reacting to her negativity and her just toss you under the bus, that was her scapegoat response of, oh, we're not really friends? Yeah. Did she ever say that beforehand?
No. We've never had a negative interaction. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've done her podcast. She knows my story. We've never had a negative interaction. I mean, it just, again, kind of speaks to the fan standpoint of, you brought her on here, stand by what you said. And if you disagree, have a conversation and say, hey, I disagree with this. This is how I feel. I don't like how you handled this, that, or the other. But I think also the fans would have loved for her to stand up and actually be a friend. I think if the goal was to potentially maybe revamp some sort of a brand or a public image after RHOP, because that's what I've been hearing quite a bit, is that, well, she's the same as she was then. I didn't watch RHOP like that. So I don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't. So, but that's what I'm hearing from the fans. Mm-hmm. I think the greatest thing she could have done would have been to have my back. And
people compared it.
And
they compared it to what happened on that show.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they compared it because they compare your situation in the aspect of on Potomac. She was accused of sharing information of a friend with someone who doesn't like that friend, and so they feel like the same way she did not protect you as her friend is the same thing that happened on that show. So a lot of people did make that correlation. It is about her being friends with somebody, but then kind of tossing them up under the bus for other people who she wanted to be friends with. So that's the kind of the correlation that what it was. So I can see how you could, not know that because you didn't watch the show.
Yeah, I didn't. So but I can also, hearing that explanation now, I can understand why they feel that way, because I honestly think if she had a role for me as hard as she wrote for me concerning Kevin, I think it really would have impacted fan perception. And I think it really would have shown a different side than what maybe they have experienced. Instead, I've seen it do the complete and utter opposite, where people have stayed consistently week after week dragging, which, is hard to see from my standpoint, because, again, me trying to be loyal, like, like, dang, y'all. But, that whole comment with the quick thing, I was like, it's at some point, it's what's the old saying my grandpa used to say, shame me once, fool me once, shame on you.
Shame on you. Fool me twice.
Fool me twice, that's my doggone fault. And I think when I saw the quick thing, I said, oh no, you can't just be up here throwing all caution to the wind, being loyal to somebody who ain't loyal to you. Like, it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, okay, like, I see. Winter is truly on an island by herself. And despite my best intentions towards her, I just have to call a thing a thing. And it's not that I have anything, any animosity against her. I just did a radio show on Friday, which was cool. We didn't have any issues. But you have to understand what buckets to put people in. And that's something that this show has taught me. Like, you know, for me, I'm way too trusting. Definitely learned my lesson with that going through this, you know, divorce. Way too trusting, apparently, in my friendships. There is a level of greenness and naiveness that I feel like I have definitely come to some realization that I have even at 40. But I think if people understand my upbringing and, you know, kind of environment and exposure, they get it, because I lived a very sheltered life being a PK and growing up in Arkansas. There ain't a lot going on, y'all. I mean, we got news reports on cows escaping farms. Like, that's
it's different. It's different. But I can fully get it, because I'm also 42, and I feel like when I watched the show, I'm like, her mistake is she's being too honest with people who don't know her. And with some folks who don't know you, they don't really care about how you feel, how it makes you. They don't care. It felt like you were being just open and honest, and they just played with it. So I wonder, do you feel like the cast used you as a storyline, or did editing and producers try to produce what we saw? I think it's a bit of both, because I said before, I was like, we spent the whole season strictly on one conversation between Monique and Winter. And we really did not get into anything anyone else had going on. And everyone else kind of jumped on that too, and in my opinion, to avoid their own stuff. How do you feel that kind of played out? Do you feel like they all used you, or could it also been production and how they kind of edited the season?
No, I completely agree. I think it's been a bit of both. I think had they picked another target, we wouldn't have my name in their mouth all season. Mm-hmm. And, you know, editing does what editing does. They picked what they thought would make good television. And yeah, I don't think you can control either one. I mean, they could have controlled how much my name was in their mouth. I mean, I think there's a complaint that, there was too much focus on her.
You're not a producer. Or in the editing room.
You know, that comment is made like I have a choice in that. You know what I mean? Like, we all our tapes get viewed by the same producers and same editors. Whatever decisions are made. We don't get a say. So to say that there's too much focus on her, well, you got to take that up with the people who made the decision and put the focus on me. I don't control that. So I don't know. I think it's been interesting. I've been called a clout chaser. I'm like, how are you a clout? I've never auditioned for reality TV in my life.
And others have.
Others have.
And they've admitted to doing it.
Yes, I'm a clout. How? How am I a clout? You have people referencing themselves as the who's who of the DMV.
You know what's weird? We saw the ending of the season with all you guys at the house getting along, singing your new song, Sign My Papers, which is a whole song. But how did they get from that? Because we felt like, okay, everyone is getting along. It ended on a good note. It ended with some understanding, a fun note, and all of that. When did you realize after that you were the odd woman out? Like, at what point did you find out like things were not as good as you thought they were when the season ended?
Premiere party.
Okay.
The energy was off. Very off. And it made no sense why it was off, because I hadn't talked to anybody since we wrapped. So I had been living my best life, y'all. By the time that the premiere rolled, I was traveling so much. I literally hadn't talked to anyone. No one. So for me to show up to the premiere and the energy be so freaking off and weird, and, you know, people that are with me are like, what's going on? Are y'all got something going on? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just here because I'm supposed to be here. I don't know. It's just premiere party, and then I feel like our cast is overly active on social media.
Yes.
And I feel like that in and of itself has led to some of the extra noise that has really plagued this cast and weighed it down. It hasn't plagued it for the better. It's plagued it for the worse. So much so when you have people saying, I refuse to film, or like they make those decisions, which is crazy. You know, Carlos has the ability to cancel us all and then just start over, you know, like, when you get to the point of that, it's just like, it's been interesting. It really, really has. So for me, it was the premiere party, and then the Twitter, IGs just have been, it's social media. It just has taken it down a path that by the time not social media, by the time the reunion gets here, I really feel like they're already on 1,000.
Yeah. Because they've been talking all season on Twitter, building it up. The fans pick their sides. They like, oh, everyone's on my side, because you don't ever see anyone else's support. But I do know, because I just looking on Twitter, more people were on your side. This based on you not really doing anything wrong, even if because even Monique saying how she doesn't call me unless it's for a contract or the show. Still trying to push this narrative that you guys aren't friends, and even how the season you did mention rumors about Quick. It was more Quick because it was Ashley who said, "Well, I've heard rumors about my husband." You said, I've heard them too." Right. So it's weird that kind of took legs and ran. But do you regret saying anything, or do you regret not just saying what you knew to kind of shut them up? Because it's weird that you made it clear, I do not want to spread what I was told, but I just said I also heard things. So do you regret seeing how they handled you, not just airing them out?
Absolutely. I just wish I hadn't said it, because I would never have aired it out. Because like I've shared on other platforms, you got to be mindful. Other people are impacted by these too. It's so interesting to hear different narratives from the cast. Like, y'all are wholeheartedly making assumptions and plugging those assumptions into blanks on my behalf. Only I can feel them. You can't tell me. It's essentially like Ashley at the reunion saying, well, your best friend is your source.
Because they kept saying that, and I was like, because they was like, your best friend is your source, and your friend called us and that you were having a breakdown. I was like, why would her friend call you? And but if you don't know her, why would her friend call you guys? Why would they call Monique? Right. So do you can you explain what they meant?
I don't know. So when you figure it out, let me know. Which is why I'm kind of looking like you need to call. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, I don't know anything about that. So it just. For me, it was all smoke and mirrors. Mm-hmm. It really was. I think that the goal was to paint me as a liar who just threw in rumors to have some sort of, staying power on the show. And I was lying. You know what I mean? So let's provoke her and see if she'll show these rumors. See, she won't show them. She's a liar. Like, no, just because I don't want to show them doesn't mean I'm a liar. And I never said what I said to review, or reveal receipts. I'm asked point blank by Carlos at the reunion, do I have them? I wasn't going to lie to him, but again, I can't deviate from my initial stance of saying I heard rumors too. That's all. That's it. That's all, folks. All this. And
you never even said I heard cheating rumors. You never said what the rumors were. It's like they insinuated you must have meant cheating. I noticed that because it was used. I'm like, she never said cheating. She just said I heard rumors too. She could have heard he was a thief. It could have been anything that the rumor was. So it was weird that they made it seem like you called Quick a cheater and you never did that.
And Ashley so at the reunion, that's what she said. And I'm like, no, I didn't. But if you're going to throw it out there, you actually are telling what you don't want me to tell. You know what I mean? Like, it just was too much insinuation and assumption. And I'm like, we're making a thing that's not a thing. Mm-hmm. Respect the fact that I don't want to put nothing out there, regardless of how much you're pushing. I'm going to ignore it and stand my ground just because I know what I've walked through. And I just wouldn't want to ever, do that to someone on a national platform. And also too, I think I actually ended up revealing just a bit. And I'm very mindful because of my friend. I don't want to put anything she shared with me in confidence out there. But I said it, and was honest about it because I'm like, y'all keep pushing me. I'm not going to share with what this girl has sent me. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I was honest about the Tylers as well. When I tell you, clear up until like getting my hair done at the reunion, people were DMing me receipts and like he made a comment that whatever I dug up, it's like, I didn't dig up nothing on you. I don't care about anyone on this cast enough to dig up dirt. Sorry, not sorry. Only person I hired a private investigator on was my ex-husband.
I know that's right. That's what I need information on. No one else.
The only person I've ever cared to dig up information on. So it just is crazy that this weird assumption, again, I feel like there's an agenda that has been made loud and clear, but just own that you just don't want me on here because you feel like I take up too much time. I would rather people be adult about it and admit it and own it than to take this stance like I'm just the one causing drama. No, you need to check the streets. The streets are who are sending this stuff. And not just me, they're sending it to me and bloggers, and it's a lot. I made a conscious decision not to show it. Like, we didn't get into this. But I also knew that people would accuse me of being a liar as well. I'm like, no, I'm not lying. I'm not lying, but it's just a lose-lose situation. But don't accuse me of digging.
Because each reality show, people send you guys stuff. Like, that's a known fact. It's not as if it was weird. It felt like they were saying, well, no one sends anyone else things. But when Ashley then says, we get stuff too. Well, so you know that people will send stuff because that's what they do. But us seeing basically Quick and Ashley being very, very aggressive, very upset. We seen Quick doing it the worst. We did not see much of Jamie's interaction. However, he did say on an interview on the Jackson brand how he did curse you out. Now, we didn't see that air out, but he admitted that that's what he did. Now, no one except Chris spoke up on your behalf. How did you feel in that moment? Because not Carlos, not Monique. It seemed like everyone has sat there and let it happen. How did that make you feel in the moment?
Awful. It was a horrible moment. I literally checked out, blacked out, whatever you want to call it, whatever your mind does to protect itself from that type of verbal abuse. I remember a member from my glam squad like touching me up, and she looked at me and she said, "This is verbal abuse."
It is. And we didn't even see. I think as a viewer, we didn't see fully what you went through. But I think us just seeing Quick go off is crazy.
I don't believe the totality of that would have ever been shared, ever. But what else is sad is that, a man would openly go and own the fact that he cussed a woman out that's not his wife. And he would never stand for a man cussing his wife out. I'm somebody's mom. I'm somebody's child.
What was worse for me was Reina agreeing that she didn't mind him doing that, because I feel like you also have daughters. You also have sons who I would assume that you would want to raise them to not do what their father did. So it was weird for me. I think I wasn't shocked seeing Jamie admit he cursed you out. I think my shocking part was more Reina laughing at it and saying how, she have an issue with it. Because even when Quick was going off, Ashley attempted to kind of hold him back and kind of go to herself.
Yeah.
So it's like apples and oranges, but still bad fruit. But it's weird because it's like they made you the villain by speaking on all your stuff. And when you try to speak on their stuff, that was their issue. You think they wanted to just focus on what's from the winter to use you for a good season and then hopefully band together to get you off for season 2?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope they don't think people are stupid or blind.
We're not.
Everyone sees.
What happened?
Everyone sees, and I think it backfired. It really backfired. So yeah, no one's dumb. And I think if any of them are smart, they would have played this a little bit better than what they did. I also don't think they planned on me kind of being an unbothered personality.
Because you came off quiet at first, but I felt like I was like, because I was like, I like Winter. She seems cool. And then the more the story progressed, I felt like they did not like they couldn't break you. So let's just keep pounding on her, because they felt like, because Monique was the veteran. DJ Quick is the popular DJ. I think they felt fans would not support you because you're new. And then the world said, well, no, because we saw the action. I think even if the season did not help their plot, the reunion made it worse, because to see it was weird because Monique said she wanted the show to be about womanhood and sisterhood and come together. But I was like, but no one tried to fix the situation. Y'all tried to make it worse by pitting Winter against the two ladies. Like, no one tried to fix that. And then Winter just did not know. And I seen Jamie did an interview, with the DJ Reedy Sky, which I did show you earlier. And
Mm-hmm.
again, he stated how you were playing with his family,
Yeah.
um, that your trolls posted his house, his address,
Right.
how that's a war. He basically did threaten you and how he wanted to tell Carlos to not bring you back. What do you feel? Because you only responded to Reina's interview where she implied that you were being messy coming at her, and you posted the actual text, and it
Yeah.
seemed very nice. It seemed like I'm trying to make sure that what I know I did not want to publicly put out there. But if you want to
Yes.
see it, I can show you. Why do you think one Arena tried to imply that, but even seeing Jamie basically threaten you
Yeah.
on a national platform, how does that make
Yeah.
you feel?
It honestly speaks to a lot of the aggression that we've seen over the season. It's almost like you cannot blame people for feeling the way they feel, yet act in a way that reinforces how they feel. And it's really kind of sad, and it's amazing that he thinks his stance by taking this public stance. You're in law enforcement, as
Right.
if we don't have enough, against law enforcement
Already.
as it is. You come and take this stance. You threaten me, on a public platform, a huge platform at that. It's not like it's small.
Right.
Um, I don't understand the logic behind it, and there has never been 1 ounce of thought to say, well, can we have a conversation with her to actually get her
Yes.
perspective and see where she was coming from? So again, it still supports the whole, oh, let's try to get her off stance. But from a lot of the, not even interviews, but a lot of the social media chatter that I've seen, based on the fan standpoints and a lot of bloggers' perception of this show, they don't feel like the Tylers should return. They
No, they
felt like
shouldn't.
they were boring. So it's like, for you to feel like you gave such a stellar performance that I'm the one that should go over you is really speaking from a inflated sense of self, in my opinion. It's like
Hmm.
a person shouldn't think higher of themselves than they ought to. But again, where was the common decency to have a conversation with me and to assume that trolls,
Because
I'm
anyone can
responsible for
post
that?
something.
Are you
Anyone can
crazy?
post something. You don't know who it is. It could have been you
Yeah.
posting your own address to blame someone else. We don't know who that person is. I'm just throwing it out there.
And it could, and I wouldn't put it past from what I've seen. Like, you want to make it seem like I'm just this some evil person that's cooking up this, that, and like, if I really wanted to be that facetious, I wouldn't have cared not 1 ounce of hill of beans about messaging you, trying to say, hey, I feel like I at least owe you to show you what people are sending. I want people to show me. So your accusation don't add up.
You could have
It doesn't.
posted what was sent to you. The fact that you did not post what was sent shows you're not trying to be messy. And I know I see folks' main issue with you has been, well, she's saying she has receipts and she won't talk about it. And I'm like, but I felt like the reason was, well, yeah, I know stuff, but I don't have to say what it is the
Right.
reason why I felt like seeing Jamie on DJ Ricky Sky's interview, and even I can't believe someone over a reality show is saying, well, that's war. And if they come here, it was too extra for me. And I think that's a reason they should not be back. Because why would you threaten, as a man, a female cast member who you say you don't know? So, like, that's
Right.
just a hard part to even, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, we did see after on ID Live, you spoke about after the reunion, you just kind of got quiet and silent. What did you try to how did you try to fix yourself after going through that? Because that's tremendously emotionally and just damaging because you felt like attacked from everyone, no one spoke up. How did you try to fix that? Just by staying silent after or after it taped.
That's all you can do. You have to do what is necessary to protect your emotional and mental space, right? So this
Mm-hmm.
is where a therapist is important, and this is where vacations are important. Uh, like, I really just had to shut it down because I think people are forgetting none of these people know me. To
Yes.
direct that level of toxicity and energy and negativity towards someone you do not really know, that tells me there's a lot going on internally that has nothing to do with me. So it was more so processing processing it in a way where I realized this has nothing to do with me. You could say what you want to say, but at the end of the day, I still know who I am and I maintain a sense of self. And it was a lot. I remember my best friend saying, "Ugh, this really hit you hard." And I was like, "Yeah, it did." But a lot of it was the abusive nature of it. And I don't think there's any other way you can
That's the right word.
articulate something like that.
That's the right word.
But when you are dealing with that level of toxicity, how does the mind process that? Like, it was a lot. It really was a lot. And the sad part is that not one cast member reached out to see how I was after sitting there
Really?
with me
Nice,
and
Monique.
experience it. Nope, not at all.
Wow. That speaks volumes because even if you don't like someone, even if you feel like they could have done something wrong, I do feel like sitting in that, no one's sitting there. I feel like Chris felt uncomfortable. So I feel like if Chris felt uncomfortable, I feel like everyone else should have also felt like, okay, maybe this went too far. You get heightened, things happen, but watching it and then once it aired and it happened, the fact that no one thought to reach out after the fact, after everyone's calmed down. Because have you talked to anyone since then about anything from the show? Not even Carlos?
We've had many chats and we will have a conversation soon. But I will say, I know people have their thoughts, but he was the one person that came to me and was like, "Are you okay?" That was a lot.
That's at least we know that. We didn't see it on camera, but at least we know like in person that happened, because it seems on camera how no one moved. It just kind of happened and it was kind of just beat up on Winter Day and then you were gone. And I stopped watching after you left. I'm like, I don't care to watch the other couples. It was done. And even knowing that part 2 was really part 1 and part 1 was really part 2, I kind of flipped it to make it seem like you were there longer, kind of proves how even as a friend of, you should have been a main cast. They owe you some money, an extra check. Because truthfully, when the show first started, a lot of fans were, we review the shows, and a lot of fans said like, we're bored. And it wasn't until we got more of Winter that more folks watched, more folks liked it. And you really were the season, be that by accident or by, whatever. That's what happened. So how do you feel that the fans feel like Winter is here? Like, how does that make you feel?
I'm appreciative of it. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I've been saying this, like the fans were my plus one, because I didn't have anybody for me to see. I feel like the fans was like, you know what? We got her. We're going to fill in and be her plus one. We're all good. Like, I appreciate it. It's been phenomenal. And it doesn't go unnoticed because it's been needed. And I think the difficulty too is, and I think this is where the cast maybe kind of didn't think it through. You don't ever want to make someone feel like the underdog. People root for the underdog. Always. And you don't ever want to gang up on a person. You don't ever want people to feel like they got, like a person is being bullied, because then they themselves say, okay, we're not going to let her get ganged, even if I don't like her.
And I think people are like, she's I'm like, she's feisty, but she's responding to what they give her. I didn't have an issue with you cracking jokes, nickname, because I'm like, they kept calling her or calling Kevin the Winter Swindler and kept, making nicknames out your half. I'm like, you guys also had nicknames. So why is it a big issue that he is
dishing it but not being able to take it?
It was just weird. But is there anything that you would have done differently since the season and the reunion played out? Is there anything you would think, okay, maybe this is not, what I should have done?
I would have brought backup. I think that's the one thing I hate. I hate that I didn't have backup because I needed it.
You thought Monique was your backup. And she just was. You just didn't know she wasn't your backup.
I needed a legitimate backup. I really, really did. A backup would have been nice. I really wish I had stood on more of what I said, because after watching it back, they went way harder for me in a lot of ways than I ever went for them. Mm-hmm. And the things that I said in defense of myself, it should have just stood, and I should have just been like, yeah, and I said it. And so I think, these are the things that you apply if you decide to go back. It's like, now, whatever winner says is what winner says. You live with it and deal with it. And I'm woman enough to do that. But yeah, I just think also be mindful of what you say, and at any time can and will be used against you in reality TV. So I'm very mindful of that. But yeah, those are some things. I just would have loved to have a little more backup, and I wish I had more experience. I'm just not really a diehard reality TV watcher, so there are just things I didn't know. I just really tried to present my authentic self and let the chips fall where they may, and they fell.
Now, if there's a season 2, and we know you will be back for, we're going to speak it into existence. If there's a season 2, you will be back with a friend. But is there anyone, based on what happened, that you would not be open to, like, trying to fix things with, or is everything fixable if a season 2 happens?
Because I really am a true believer. I believe that everyone deserves grace and second chances, and forgiveness if they ain't split their draws too bad. Now, some people tear their draws and you can't sew them joints back together, right?
It's done.
But I'm always open to it, just because I legitimately don't know them, and I just am not that facetious in my heart of hearts to where I just put this, bitterness in my heart towards them. Even though a lot of them have been nasty, I just don't live my life that way. So I don't think anything's not fixable. A lot of it depends on them, because they're the ones that are out here screaming from the rooftops that it's not. So I maintain my stance. But I really hope that if it does come back for a season 2, that they bring new blood. I think this cast needs
it.
New blood for sure.
Now, because it's going to be a season 2, we think it's going to be a season 2. Would you want to come back with like a dating friend, or just a friend? Like, would you want backup as friend, as far as a good girlfriend to handle the ladies? Or would you hope that maybe God will bring a handsome man in who will come and be your knight in shining armor in a good black suit?
Jesus.
Which would you kind of prefer based on the first season?
I would love both. I think in this situation, you need both. The more the merrier. I definitely feel like both is important, because I think the fans would love to see me move on. You know what I mean? Like, I think they would love to see that. And I would be open to it, but I need a friend.
What is one thing that out of this whole crazy scenario, what is the one blessing that came from being on the show?
Oh gosh, probably my song. I would have never thought
that
it
would have.
That's a good
song.
Thank you
I
so
like
much.
it.
I
be singing it for no reason. And I can't sing now. I'm not the singer, okay? But seeing how you did it on the show, and how it flipped to what became Sign My Papers, shows how talented that you are. Because they try to make it a church song. You said, no, ma'am. Don't put me in a church box. I can also do something different. And I like the song.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of it, because I had a partial vocal scholarship in college. So a lot of people didn't even know I could sing. And so, to do it impromptu, because it was a spur of the moment situation, to do it impromptu and then follow up with a real, a legitimate song, I think has shocked a lot of people, but we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. So our goal is just to continue to promote it and spread the word, and hopefully it catches on and becomes the new divorce anthem. Because people be going through it, child. Like, I have people that message me, that downloaded and say, you know what, child, I'm happily married, honey, but I be signing them papers.
Because it's still a good song, even if you marry. It's a real good, because it's the beat of it all, and it's because we sing what happened. It makes complete sense. Do you think you'll have more music after this, a follow up song? Because the papers are signed. So, like, what's the next step for music for Winter?
Well, we've had some conversations, and we may. I'll say stay tuned. I don't have any aspirations, though, to be a recorded artist. I kind of became I don't know what you want to call it, a one by accident, an accidental recording artist. But I don't have aspirations to do that. I can see myself getting into more media, of course. People always ask me if I've ever considered acting. I don't know. We'll see. I would love to do like, because I do sing, I think like a stage play would be dope, like a
That'd be
singing
cute.
one. Like I really could,
You can do
hear
what
watch.
happened. You can do what happened in your life, and that can be, a two-parter.
I'm
Act
telling
one
you.
with the first marriage, and then act two, and then act three is what is happening now. That's
Yes,
what it can
I'm
be.
telling you. I would love that. Would be fun for me. So if anybody, any stage production producers, like, hit me up. I would love to do a
You got to
cameo.
contact Candy. You got to get with Candy. You got to get with Candy. Tell Carlo to give you
Oh,
Candy number
okay.
and collab, because that's the place to be. Because Candy always doing stuff.
Oh, I'm here for it because I think that would be so much fun. I just think it would help me, allow for me, well, not help me, but allow for me to infuse all of my personality and the
Hmm.
humor, the feisty, the song. Like I would love to have it all, but we'll see. I think the sky's the limit. I believe there are a lot more opportunities to be had, and definitely focus on growing my business and my community. I host both domestic and international luxury healing retreats for women.
The International Queen's Table Luxury Resort, which I know is coming, is next year. So tell us about
Yep.
that, because that's coming up too.
Yes, we had our first one in Mexico this past June, and so it's coming up in June again of 2023. We're going to Jamaica, and so we will be taking the ladies abroad and having an amazing. This past one was incredibly phenomenal. I mean, for a first time event for me for this particular event, it was
Hmm.
an incredible experience. So we are just looking to take it up a notch, and we have great support. Someone coming in to help us draw in sponsors for the event. So my hope is to host more ladies this go round, but also elevate the experience for them. But I just think so often, especially for African Americans or minority women in general, we don't really get access to luxury. We
Mm,
save up, we
true.
take the vacations, but we don't get treated like the queens we truly are. And that's what the
Hmm.
Queen's Table is about, is to give women access to being treated like the queens that they are. So it's just, we're excited. We hope that it's bigger, it's better, it's more people that attend, more ladies that attend, that truly get to experience luxury the way that we should and the way that we deserve, because that's the way I believe it should be. So we have a domestic one coming up in December, and that's going to be in the DMV area at a luxury boutique hotel. And so we're excited about that as
Oh.
well. So for those that don't really have a passport or can't travel abroad, we decided to do a mini version
Hmm.
domestically, so people can fly out here and experience the luxury healing retreat here and get pampered and enjoy themselves. But I love women. I hate that this show honestly doesn't reflect it like I would have loved for it to be
Hmm.
reflected. Like, we didn't do any spa days, we didn't do any shopping trips, like
There was nothing. But you came off
nothing.
like you wanted that, like the first episode started that thought process, and then it kind of
Yeah.
just went away.
Yeah, so but that me, I love. So this is why I do what I do. I know people mention a lot about women's empowerment, but I feel like it's very difficult to just walk into women's empowerment. It really has to
Hmm.
be a lifestyle, and it has to be who you are. I'm a girl's girl. I don't ever meet a stranger, and I hate that I experienced what I experienced, because it's so often what so many other women experience,
Right.
right? But I love that one of the greatest compliments that we got for our retreat is that not one woman walked in there feeling unseen, and not one woman left feeling unseen. Like, they felt loved and welcome from the time they stepped on that resort. And that was our
Growing
goal.
growing bonds, because I think you have to grow bonds with people to make them feel like, okay, I'm not just someone who's here for the money of it all. I'm really here because they
Exactly.
want to build me up into something, and that's a great
Yes.
thing, because not a lot of women even know that they need to be built up, because sometimes we
Yes.
feel whole and we don't realize I'm missing the whole piece.
Yep.
But the piece is still yourself. So that's oh my god,
Absolutely.
I love it. So I am going to put
Yes.
the link to that in the description box below. But my last question is, who is Winter now that the season has ended? Now that you went through that storm, who do you feel like you are now after all of that?
On me. I feel like there are things, levels or layers to me that I've kept hidden and suppressed for fear of judgment or what people may or may not think. And I believe this season has gifted me the gift of freedom to be me. So I own who I am, good, bad, or indifferent, whether you agree or you don't. I'm me. It's so, I feel like my skin has gotten brighter. I'm like, girl, you ain't got on no makeup tonight, but you look bright.
you
Like,
you I mean, you shiny. It's
yeah,
shiny.
it is. So, but I believe that's a reflection from the healing work that I've done from the inside out. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and the ownership. I'll be 41, and I feel like this is the first time in my life that I truly own who I am as a woman. So for me, it's a tremendous relief to be able to be like, well, world, this is what you get.
Because you know,
This is what you get.
we ask for stuff, and then it comes like, I didn't ask for that, Lord. How did you get? And then that turned into something else because you didn't ask for all this craziness, but it
Yeah.
helped you get to where you are now. That's always the best thing I think in life, honestly. And I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see what you have coming up. I look when I say every I was like, I cannot believe how they treated Winter. So I was very much so a supporter of yours because you
I
were the
appreciate it.
odd man out this season. And it's
Yes.
easy for people to attach themselves to the winning team who is the
Yeah.
bigger team. And I was like, I can see it for what it is. So I'm happy that
Yeah.
other people also, and I was extremely happy to, you are my first solo interview. So I am very yes, I'm very happy. So yeah, I've had other group interviews. Yeah, I've had group interviews before, but it's my first solo one. So I was very happy. I wanted it to be a conversation because as women, you want to just talk about what we learn in life, be it from a show, a
Yeah.
marriage, a job, or whatever it is. But we need more
Yeah.
conversations where it's just a general talk about, hey, this is what I went through, this is what I learned, and
I
how
love
I can
it.
be better later on. So I'm very, very happy
Well,
to have
I
had you
actually,
here.
I miss you on the panel. I've seen it a time or two. My sister watches you guys
Oh, does
religiously,
she?
so I know of you through them.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed you over there, but I thank you again. I mean, you're a delight, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for taking the time because a lot of times too, people see clips and they don't really get an insight into a person because of the editing,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of
Oh
judgments
no.
made, and it's like, these interviews I think really help paint a more truer picture. And it's so funny to see some people think that when they do an interview, it paints a different narrative, and people walk away like, "Now you exactly who we thought you were."
And it's like, no, you have to, I said, people need to start watching live because I watch your lives. And I was like, the winter was on the show, that's the producer's winter. That isn't winter
Yeah,
winter. So I will always say,
yeah.
no, watch her live because you can get a backstory over why she was upset or why she felt that way. So I was like, no, I need more information. I can't go by the producer's edit.
That's a great, and I'm glad you mentioned that to anyone that's watching. Yes, I have always been a people's person. So the fact that I've been a people's person, that may have caught my cast off guard too. That I
Hmm.
had so many people that were willing to rock because they have rocked with me for so long that they know me. Like now, winter hair been shaved, winter been like so many people have like spoke up on my behalf because I've been consistently one way for so long that when certain things were edited a certain way, people who know
They
me
knew.
already knew. So I often tell people like, stop looking at the show and come get to know. Like, if you come on over to IG or YouTube, you gonna
Come
get
to
who
the
I
live. You
don't.
gonna see it.
Yeah, you gonna see. And I think people too also learn the feisty part because and when I'm live and I'm just comfortable in being me, it rolls off my tongue. I don't try. It just is what it
And
is.
that's the best thing because anyone can edit you down to something, but you can't edit my live. But they can't edit. Now, I've seen them edit some lives. Now I know that too. But you gotta. You said hit copy paste, and I say she told y'all to send it. Don't change what I said. It's in the whole live. But I feel like the
That part.
fans like you. And I think you'll do great because they see through the plot
Yeah.
and the plan.
I appreciate it. It's been great. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for having me.
I'm
Honored to be your
happy.
first solo. I'll cherish this moment for the rest of my life.
And on
No,
season two now. Come back with season two because you're gonna get a season two. If not on this show, on someone's show. We don't know what show it's gonna be,
I'm here
but the
for it.
next thing I'm gonna see you there.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Thank
Anytime.
you so much,
Anytime. Thank you
Winter.
guys for
Such a
tuning in.
great
Thank you so much.
time. Have a
Likewise.
great night.
Bye.
So that was our interview with Winter of Love and Marriage DC. I had such a great time. I hope y'all did too. I will talk to y'all later. I have to go and get things done. Okay, but do not forget to follow Winter on our social media at Simply Winter on IG. I will also put the link to the International Queens Table luxury retreat in the description box below. So do that. And y'all know to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those things. I am Jaylee. This is JayLeesCorner. I gotta go. Peace.